Okay.
This is a I forgot what you call it.
Omnidirectional?
Well, it is on omnidirectional.
Well, what do you mean? I can spit in it and
They
won't
call
electrocute
it
me?
front address mic as opposed to top address mic.
Oh, okay. I'm good with that.
Hello, test. I can't see the mic levels anymore. Hopefully we're not yelling. People will tell us. Whale. Look at us.
Do you normally go live when you're on, or do you record most things?
I record and edit and perfect. And then this year with going down in my time that I had to give, I really wanted to do more live stuff. Look how cool this program is. You can make little banners.
Oh.
Anybody watching later? Oh, hey, somebody's watching already. Hi.
Oh, great.
We're getting excited because this is our test run and our experiment here. Hey, one person whose eyeballs watching us, if you tell me how the audio sounds back here, that would be so nice of you. Oh, 2 people are watching us now.
Wow.
We are live, but we're not actually. We're starting on time. We just wanted to do mic checks. So, hi, Rabid Rab. Yay. I'm so glad you helped me yesterday and got the mic kinks worked out. So, thank you. How's the volume, Rabid, back here? Is it pretty decent at normal volume?
I hope it's
Say
good.
Something, Mark. Okay.
Yeah, well.
And then what about here? Is it way too loud? Rabid, I need you. Or anybody else watching. Hi, Andrea. Is it too loud up here, Andrea? Or is it? And then how's back here? Okay. Man, you guys are so helpful. This is the coolest thing, by the way. It's called StreamYard, and it's pretty new. It's not a software. It's an in-browser thing. So we're going to be doing our best to. It'd be nice if we could hook up to a landline, but I don't think those capabilities exist here.
Well, if my classroom goes coronavirus closed, I could do this, I guess.
Yeah.
That's cool.
For sure. Well, before we start, we just opened it up early to do mic check. Thank you guys. But I was hoping that we could pray together before we went live, and then we'll hit it. Okay, cool. Father in heaven, thank you so much for amazing technology, and we're excited to use it today for your glory. I just want to ask that you would make this normal and natural and authentic, and that Mark would feel free to tell his story and free to express himself and the ways that you've worked in his life, and that you would help this video to find somebody who was looking for a similar experience to feel solidarity. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah. Okay, well, before we start, do you want to tell me? Well, I feel like if I introduce you before 4:30, that would be sad, but
okay. You can ask me anything now.
Okay.
It'll be the pre-blooper part. We can.
Okay. Well, let's just go ahead and start early. This, my friends, is special guest Marc Andres. Is it Andres or Andres? Andres?
In the Philippines, it would be Andres.
Andres.
Like undress. Just say it fast.
Marc Andres.
Yes.
Okay. And he works at a denominational school as a teacher for work. This is how he gets his money. What kind of teacher are you?
I teach high school history.
Nice.
Social studies. I teach an English class too. My original training was teaching English.
Mm-hmm.
I won't correct your grammar. Don't worry.
Yeah, that's always makes me nervous. That was a hard one for me.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do in your free time? I
have free time. Yeah, in my free time, I take care of the cats and the bearded dragon that my children have, and I take care of my teenage children.
Okay.
Yeah. Right now,
children and
they're a big part of my chore life and my chasing around life.
yeah.
When I'm not chasing them, I'm playing a computer game or reading. I like music. I used to be part of a men's singing group, but then my kids
Ooh.
got too big and quit.
Oh, well, that's unfortunate. I'd love to see that revived. I mean, I would come to your show for sure, especially if you wear little outfits. I'm a sucker for the outfits.
I'm not a man in uniform. We visited churches and did church events, so
that's cool.
Sort of praise. I don't know, chorus. Yeah.
Nice. Well, I still see the candy striper suits. But
I'm no. What do they call those quartets?
Barbershop.
That's right.
It's always got the guy with the super deep voice. All right. Well, we're going to get started into some of the meat, or if you're vegetarian like I am, the tofu of this conversation. I want to know a little bit about your, by the way, I'm just getting to know this man as you guys are getting to know this man, but we've been friends for about a year.
Mm-hmm.
But I love people's God stories, and Mark was kind enough to be the guinea pig to go first on this. Mark, I want to know a little bit about your kind of what your spiritual life growing up was. Did you grow up in a Christian home, or
yes. I was raised in a Christian home from the start.
And so you told me earlier about a story, kind of the first time where God got your attention. Will you take us to that day? And
sure. So just a little background. My parents were, they're Christians. Took me to church and to they sent me to denominational school. So at this point, jumped to 7th grade. So what we do is sort of an outdoor education, sort of field trip. We went up to the church Camp Wawona up in Yosemite.
Oh, you grew up in California.
Yeah. I'm a Silicon Valley boy.
Oh, I didn't know.
So I went up there with our 7th grade class, and they had us do it's an outdoor camp, and it's a Christian outdoor camp. So of course you spend the week, studying nature, doing the obstacle course, doing your nature hike, going out and drawing pictures. I couldn't drawing pictures of, the squirrel or the bird. Mm-hmm. But then, you get to the end of the week and you're supposed to just go out for an hour and just meditate. Imagine a bunch of 7th graders spreading out to meditate.
That seems pretty rough for an hour.
It's pretty rough. So I'm laying on a rock in the sun, in this sort of river canyon. There's a big granite dome. It's just a beautiful day. I'm just listening, just kind of chilling. And then all of a sudden, I hear this voice in my head. And it says, "Mark, I want you to work for me. You're going to work for me." And it scared me to death because I don't think I'm crazy. There was no one around. We're all spread out and journaling or drawing or chewing gum, just not meditating. I didn't want to hear a voice in my head.
You weren't looking for that. You're just
and I was trying
killing the time.
I was just trying to say no, but it was very insistent. No, you're going to work for me. And it's affected me quite a bit. At first, it affected me because I didn't really want to work for God.
Did you know it was God? Like, were you?
I couldn't figure out that it was anything else or anyone else.
And you knew it wasn't something that you would be telling yourself.
No.
Right.
It's the farthest thing from my mind.
Did you tell anybody?
No.
Oh, you just kept that little nugget to yourself?
Oh, for several years, until I got to high school. But
interesting.
It's kind of, you're going to work for me. What does that mean? Well, in my mind, I wanted to be doctor, lawyer, engineer, something.
Okay.
And I didn't want to hear that. So
But are you saying
I ran the other way?
Be a teacher?
No, I didn't want to be a teacher at that point. You're in 7th grade. What do you want to do? Not be in school, right?
Yeah, definitely not be in school.
So it was, I was struggling with that because I had this, you're raised in the church, and I felt like maybe I have to do this, but I didn't want to do.
Now,
didn't want to work for God.
did you know the story of Jonah at this point?
Yeah, you know,
The
that
guy
kind of gets
who
drilled in your head in the
runs the other
classes.
way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I knew about that. I knew about Samuel. Heard, you know, God, you know, hey, you know, speak, Lord, your servant heareth. I didn't want to hear. I didn't want to
You're like,
talk.
don't speak, Lord.
Right.
All right. Well, I want to know how that came to fruition. Did you ever feel like because of that instruction, because God's saying, I want to work for you, that you made different decisions in life?
I did. So skip ahead, go through high school, go to college. And when I got to college, I was confronted, you know, I don't know if God's really real. Because you go to church,
Yeah.
you go with church friends.
Yeah.
No one's living perfect lives.
No.
You know,
Even if
are we
they were
pretending to be Christians, or, you know, is God real? I had this voice experience,
right,
but I hadn't really experienced God yet. And so I kind of laid it all out there. You know, God, if you're real, I'm going to give this a shot. I want to give you a chance to be real. So I went.
Seems fair.
Yeah, I took a year off on a sort of student mission trip. I went to Japan and worked for a denominational school.
Okay.
So.
Well, that probably hooked you in then.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Well, it took me out of my normal into a new place where I was open to new opportunities. You know, a different culture and a different friendship circle. I wasn't dependent on my old, you know, friendships, relationships. I didn't even have, you know, this is before there's, you know, mobile phones and texting and international calling. I was kind of cut off. Yeah. So yeah, that year really, I gave God a chance to, you know, use me in the way I thought he was calling to, you know, he wants me to work for him. Well, I'm going to go and, you know, give Bible studies or, you know, meet people and be a witness.
Yeah.
So that year really changed my perspective, because when I opened up to God, God really showed that he could use me and that he was real. Because people, no, I'm no spectacular speaker, I don't think, just be a real person. But to just share with a student or a, you know, person I'm bowling with and talk about God and have a response, it was my first experience really being used by God.
That's so cool. Yeah, that's neat. I have a question about how God continued to talk with you. Did you regularly at any point hear from God, like in your head, like a voice?
No.
Or how did he communicate with you most of your life?
It'd be nice if God told me which job to take or which major to take, or you know, marry this girl, not that girl.
Sure.
Never really had that again.
Okay.
In my head.
Just one weird time.
Yes.
Man, I'm curious. For those of you watching, I would love your comments. Has God ever impressed himself into your mind in that way? Not an audible voice. We're not saying that it was outside of your head, but you knew in your head that it was specific from God. I'm curious about that. We'll look through some of your comments in a little while, but I want to go now to a darker part of your life. You told me that there was a time where you're having difficulties in your marriage and you were really seeking God. And then you got a message another way through a friend. Can you take me to that story? Take me to that day.
Sure. So, you know, several years ago, my wife and I were struggling going through marriage counseling, and I didn't see a real light at the end of the tunnel. And then, so I wasn't really talking to anyone at church about it at that point.
Just too sore, too raw.
My family, yeah. My family knew,
right?
But no one else. And then, so I'm at church, And a lady that I know at church, I'm not in a small group or a prayer group with this lady,
Okay.
but she just kind of grabs me by the elbow and takes me aside, says, Mark, I want to talk to you. And so we go outside.
You're like, oh, snap.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in trouble.
What did I do?
Yeah.
Back to
Did I
this.
back into your car? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No. So it was raining that day. I remember very clearly. It was the fall and it was kind of drizzly outside. And so to talk in private, we just went out where we could actually hear each other because, you know, after church, fellowship, everyone's talking, shaking hands, you know.
Yeah.
So where do you go? So we went outside in back of the church and we were just talking. He says, Mark, I was praying and God told me to come talk to you and give you a message. Yes.
How did you react?
Well, I wanted to hear the message.
Right.
So I'm pretty open.
Was your
I don't
heart
know.
open to it at that point?
My heart was pretty broken. Well, I could say this. You know, before I'd been, you know, in my own prayer time, in private, I'd been saying, you know, God, what's the way forward? I don't know. You know, what's the way out? Show me you're real. These kinds of prayers, right?
Yeah, back to the real. I felt you real before, but
yeah, I wanted some
I don't hear you now.
hope and direction. And so this other church member just tells me, you know, I have a message for God from you. Yeah. And then she tells me, Mark, you know, don't give up. The end is in sight. You know, I hear you.
Wow.
There's light at the end of the tunnel. That kind of message. And it's like right at that moment where I had been, you know, asking for the word of the Lord. And it came through someone who I don't believe knew my situation.
Have you ever asked? Have you ever gone back and backtracked?
No, actually, I haven't. I'm taking that as a word of God because it's not like I reached out to this lady.
That's really interesting. I see that you have a book, John Eldredge book.
Oh, yes.
There, that you brought as a prop. Does this tie into the story at all?
A little.
I've read it.
Yeah.
And I read the girl version. Yeah. And the guy version. The girl version is Captivated.
Yes.
But I really like the guy version better.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I think I understand girls already, and that one was more eye-opening.
Yeah. So this is John Eldredge's Wild at Heart, and a few years before, you know, I had this rough patch in my marriage. I'd been part of a small group, and we had, you know, a men's group, and we had gone through this book, and it's just in the times in between, you know, the rough patches when I didn't know if God was real, and then I didn't know the end of the troubled patch in my marriage. You know, in the times in between, my relationship with God has been strengthened by being with other people in small group. We were able to share, dig into the Word of God, because God doesn't always talk through, you know, voices or you know, moments with.
I'm with you. I wish that were the case. I've given him control and said that I'm listening and I want to hear, and I've spent time in silence, but he's not always chosen to speak that way.
Yeah, it's like it, and it's also in that group and in digging into the Word and going on retreats, you know, where we shared and knew each other. You know, it's like times of building strength for myself too, but also lifting up other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Part of my experience is not just going off on mission trips or, you know, waiting for God to reach down in my depths, but you know, kind of building up and supporting each other, learning about God through shared experiences, Bible study, just walking together through life.
That's really appealing to me. I think, you know, not that anyone's here to hear my opinion, but that's that's what church is. That's what church should be.
Yes.
I want to backtrack a little bit and tease this out for a second. Why is it that in your roughest time you weren't talking to people at church? What were the fears or the hesitations or?
Yeah, that's a good question. I work at the denominational school, and I know people at church, and a lot of
I see.
friends and my wife's friends are connected to the
Okay.
church, and it's not, we don't always, um,
So
reveal everything when we're in rough
yeah,
times of life.
that's right. I think that sounds like a little bit of an extra layer of challenge then. You want to be
Yeah.
gracious to the person you're thinking, we may part ways. I don't know what's going to go on.
Yeah.
But not everybody needs to know that we work with.
Mm-hmm.
And if you work and worship with people, that can be a struggle, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, but, I've shared with people since.
Right.
Yeah. We help each other along the path.
Right. What would you say? I think the big question that we're looking at today, and I know that somebody's going to watch this and they're going to say, I'm in that darkest time. I'm in a rough patch in my marriage or a relationship. Mark, where is God in those times, and why does he seem so silent?
I've struggled with that.
Yeah.
I don't know
Thank you.
why God is silent all the time, but I know that in his word, he's given us stories of people who are struggling in that same silence.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the story, it turns out well for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I know in my own story, God has come through for me when I didn't think anyone was listening. It's just, it's great to give God a chance to prove himself. And I've drawn strength from the Bible stories and from other people in my small groups or in my friendships, Christian friends who can offer encouragement and say, hey, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. He's come through for me too.
Right.
I've grown to trust that what God says, I might not see it happening, but it's happening and it will happen.
So give it time. What would be your
I suppose.
advice? Yeah.
Hang on.
Okay.
Hang on to God.
Yeah.
There's a verse, I couldn't tell you. Is it James?
What I like to say is there's a verse in the Bible.
No, I think it's in James 4 or 5, submit yourselves therefore to God, resist the devil and he will flee from you.
Yes.
Draw nigh to God and he will draw nigh to you.
Yes.
And I don't wait to hear from God anymore to see if he'll draw nigh to me. I just draw nigh. I get as close as I can.
Like that little
in
kid
prayer.
rushing in.
Yeah. Well, little kids don't rush up to strangers. They rush up to their parents. They rush up to their friends.
Their auntie.
Yes.
Yeah. That's right. Well, I appreciate it. I see that we had several other viewers join us, and just again, Mark, thank you for your time. Thank you for letting us know a little bit about your walk and your path. Friends, I want to let you know that this is the first of many live interviews we're going to do because I think for me, I just love the victories in other people's lives, the story in other people's lives. And when you're in the middle of a struggle, I want to know, because if somebody is vulnerable enough to say, come along with me in the valleys, then it's going to be glorious for more than one person if and when God brings them out of it. So thank you for sharing that. I cannot tell you exactly when our next live broadcast will be, but I've got a couple other friends lined up and we're just working on scheduling issues. And I do want to ask you if you know somebody that I should be interviewing, if you know somebody that has a story about how their faith has challenged them or how God has brought them through something. The question that we're trying to answer on Ask a Christian this year, the overarching question is, how has your life been improved because of your faith? So feel free to go over to the Facebook page or comment here on YouTube. Let me know if you know somebody that I could tell their story. And it doesn't need to be in studio here. Marc just happens to live close by, but we can do this over the webs as well. So just want to thank you for your time, and I'll see you next time. Send your comments to me below, Facebook and YouTube, or you can email me at askachristianfriend@gmail.com. I will. Oh, hi, Denise. Denise's comment just popped up and it says, if we think of someone, how can we reach you? And the question, yeah, there it is. The answer is just comment below, or if it's something private, you can go to askachristianfriend@gmail.com. Thank you. Appreciate you. See you next time. Bye.